Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Karan Rose.
Thank you to everybody tuning into another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. And as usual, it is your boy, Mr. Karan Rose. DJ, oh man, listen, I love this beat. If this beat doesn't get you fired up when the podcast hits, oh man, just take it in with me. Take it in. Fade us out, DJ. Oh man, listen, it is good. It is good to be, back in the podcasting space. I was away for a little bit. I had to take a little bit of a break, as I got life sorted out, with the move and the renovations and whatnot. So I couldn't, for April and May, I wasn't able to be as active as I wanted to be, But it feels good to be, just back in the space, being able to do this, because I really enjoy podcasting. Blogging was always my first love because I love to write. And I could write, I could wake up in the morning, beat out my blogs, get my blogs done, put it out there. And it didn't require mic, camera, lights, and whatnot. And if you're on my Instagram, right? Remember, I show a lot of my behind the scenes via my Instagram channels. But if you see how I like to work on Instagram, I have a very moody room. I'm usually, the lights are off. It's kind of dark. It's kind of, I might have some my Philips Hue lights on or whatever to give a little light. But man, I like to work in the dark. If I was a superhero, I would definitely be Batman. I like to work at night. Yeah, so podcasting really has become just a love for me. And I think the other day I was watching the launch of the new Rodecaster Pro 2. So again, if you watch my Instagram stories, you guys know that the main tool that I use to do my podcasting, a lot of the work that I do when it comes to workshops and speaking gigs, whatever, a big part of that workflow is my Rodecaster. So I was looking at the Rodecaster Pro 2 the other day, and I'm like, man, it's just going to simplify my workflows, and it's going to do even more. And because of all the new things that it can do, again, it just made me even more energized to start doing podcasting hardcore or double down on it even more than I already am, and to just do so many other things. So the technology that allows me to put out podcasts also intrigues me, also energizes me to make podcasts and have fun with it. So, man, listen, when you're in this game, any little thing you can do to energize yourself or invigorate yourself, make yourself curious and allow yourself to have fun in this game of building your business and doing whatever you are doing, you got to take it. So, part of my consistency with podcasts is I like playing with the tools to make podcasts. Part of my love for blogging is constantly learning how search engine optimization works and how to rank and how to get my articles showing up for the things within my space. So I have such a curiosity around a lot of the behind the scenes and the technology behind the things that I do, and that is what constantly motivates me to be consistent with blogging, videos, podcasting, and you name it, right? So, it's to some, it might sound weird, but I definitely always, I always like to put that message out there. Figure out, how to stay curious within your space. Find those little things that you need to motivate you because, listen, if nobody's going to come and push you to get your blogs done. No one's going to come and push you to do your podcast, do your videos, or, try to grow your brand and grow your business. There ain't nobody coming to do that for you. So you got to figure out little ways how to keep yourself motivated and keep yourself inspired, And in learning all of the tools and the softwares and, again, the marketing side of it and the search engine optimization, like these things also force me to learn other skills to enhance the skills that I have. And in me doing all of those things, that is ultimately how I've been able to teach, the things that I've been teaching over the past couple of years within this space. And that's how I've been able to grow my Druid Island brand and now the Karen Rose brand and the Digipreneur brand, right? Anywho, let's get down to the meat of the matter. So today is episode number 73. Oh my goodness! I listen. We gotta have like a live party when we hit episode number 100 because it's coming. It's coming soon. It's coming soon, right? So today's episode is we're going to be diving into 4 ways building your digital presence by blending digital and traditional channels. We're going to be talking about 4 ways to build your digital presence by blending digital and traditional channels. Now, 2022, or I should say coming down to the end of 2021, as with everybody else, I was, just chilling, thinking about, what could we do? What does the next level look like for the Digipreneur brand in 2022? And it got me thinking, growth strategies. How do I tap into the pockets of people that, straight digital doesn't penetrate, right? Because we're in the Caribbean, right? There's still a large population that doesn't use digital the way that some of us are using digital, and they still get their news and their information from traditional platforms, all right? And so, I was just sitting back and I was thinking, what does that next level look like? And as much as I've been digital for years now, I was scratching my head about, what if I was to, tap into traditional. First of all, why do I even want to tap into traditional? Well, for one, as I said, there's still in the Caribbean, there's still a large part of the population that isn't consuming digital the way that we consume digital, right? There's people that, for their own mental health, just stay off of the interwebs, right? And they just their phone isn't down, and if they decide to pick up a paper, they pick up a paper. TV might consist of a morning show and evening news, and throughout the rest of the day, they're just doing their own thing, right? So there's that, tapping into a part of the population that doesn't consume digital the way that we do. Secondly, it brought me back to lessons from Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley, Gary Vaynerchuk, and also another mentor, another digital mentor, Chris Ducker. And all 3 of those guys in some form or fashion have talked about siphoning influence from platforms that have influence, right? Siphoning, when you can siphon influence from platforms that have influence, that influence comes onto your brand. That rubs off onto you, right? Which is why getting featured by publications or news houses is still a big thing, right? It shows that you've kind of made it. You're being recognized, right? We still view that as a very, very big achievement. So even if you're somebody who doesn't really read the news, when you see somebody getting featured on a news house or a publication that is popular or respected, again, whether you agree with the content or not is irrelevant for this conversation, but we would look at the news houses and publications as platforms of authority. So when somebody gets recognized on those platforms, that is an achievement still to this day, all right? So when you are siphoning influence from or siphoning authority from the platforms that have it, that rubs off onto your brand. But how do you go about doing that, right? It goes beyond just trying to get featured or working with a PR rep to help them, get you interviews and get you featured on radio or on the newspapers or whatnot. Like, that's good, but that has a shelf life, right? That has a shelf life. To siphon influence is to really be a part of those platforms consistently. And that will help build your name and your brand, and the authority that those platforms have will start to rub off on you over time, right? And just elevate your brand overall. So I got to thinking, okay, I'm seeing pre-2022, I'm doing pretty well. The outlook of my brand is up there. When you think digital, when you think entrepreneurship, when you think online business, when you think e-commerce, you think marketing, I've been able to put myself in those conversations. Not saying that I'm the best or the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I've been able to at least put myself in those conversations consistently across multiple countries. Whether it's Trinidad, whether it's Jamaica, whether it is Canada, whether it is in the US and the Caribbean diaspora, I've at least been able to put myself in these conversations as somebody to take note of. All right? But I wanted to, the conversation with myself is, how do we elevate? And then I got to thinking, okay, you know what? I think 2022, I think I've done a lot to put myself in those conversations and to be known in these spaces, that now I could start connecting with news houses and see what the possibilities are for getting my brand onto these platforms. That way, we can tap into the audience that isn't consuming digital, and they still get their information from the traditional platforms. And sometimes they just need to see the type of content you're putting out, and that might be the seed that gets planted, that takes hold, and give them that paradigm shift. But then also when you think about the people that read the papers, a lot of my target audience, who is CEOs and C-suite executives, people in decision-making powers, a lot of them still read newspapers. They still pick up or have a physical newspaper delivered to their offices. And even if it's not the physical newspaper, you might say something or do something and it's online, but on these platforms, and they are being sent the links to your articles to consume it, right? So Again, knowing my audience and who I'm trying to target, I know a lot of them are picking up the physical newspaper or they are being sent the articles to read. So, again, this is another reason why I decided, okay, you know what, I need to tap into traditional platforms because I know who's reading it. I know who's consuming that content, right? So this is just some of the things that I was thinking about when I decided that, hey, 2022, I need to dive deep into traditional platforms, all right? And so I want to give you guys 4 reasons why you should be looking to see how can you blend digital channels and traditional channels to build your digital presence. So I'm going to give you guys 4 reasons, and in between these 4 reasons, I'm going to give you guys some of my thoughts as to, because I'm going through the process. I've started already, right? And I'm going through the process as well. So I will throw in I'll throw in my experiences as well as to what I've been able to, what I've seen so far and how it has worked for me so far. All right. All right. So reason number 1. Reason number 1. You want to blend digital and traditional channels because, for one, you can leverage established platforms to reach a wider audience. Remember, we are still in the Caribbean, and traditional media still has a massive following. Even when you hear about, hey, you know, the newspapers, you know, they're not selling as much. They're not selling as much from what they historically are doing, sure. But that percent in decline is still millions of people picking up the newspaper every single day. It's going to be a very, very long time before you no longer hear about people reading a newspaper. People are still buying out the newspapers. They still have a massive following. And then keep in mind, those articles are going digital, right? So blending, you know, the newspapers, thinking of radio, thinking of TV, these news houses, these traditional platforms still have a wide audience that you can leverage. All right. So that's key. That's key. That's probably the most important reason right now, is that you can leverage these traditional platforms that have a wide audience and tap into audiences that your social media platforms may never have penetrated. And then remember, even though the most used platform in the world right now is Google, when we're talking digital, the thing with Google is that people have to jump on Google and search. And they have to know what they're searching for or have an idea of what they're looking for, right? In order for Google to bring back those results. So getting onto these platforms that have their established audiences and a wide and large audience, you can leverage them, and then you can figure out, you know, what message, what types of content do you want to get out into these platforms. And remember, you're thinking, again, the Digipreneur family is primarily business owners, right? And business 101 is solving a problem. Your business has to solve a problem, or, you know, help people achieve a desire. So how can you, you know, take your content and put that in the mainstream media and help people solve a problem and talk about things that are within your space that help them solve a problem or achieve their desires, right? So that's reason number 1. Number two, the second reason you want to blend digital and traditional channels to build your digital presence is authority building. Like it or not, people still view news houses as an authoritative platform. Even if you don't always agree with the content, they are still viewed as an authority platform. Which is why we still celebrate, as I said earlier, this is why we still celebrate when you see people get featured on the news. And those who create great content on the platforms are usually highly respected people. Right? You might not respect them. It might, you might read you. I'm already thinking of people being like, nah, I hate a lot of these reporters. But they are respected by their audience. Their audience loves it. You might not, I might not, but people who create content on these platforms are respected people, and their audience puts them on a pedestal. They view them as a authoritative figure, right? So you taking your content, you building your business, taking your content that helps people solve problems or achieve their desires, and you figuring out how to get your content onto their platforms, you're going to tap into that wider audience, and you're going to build a following on those platforms, and they're going to view you as a authority in your space because you are creating content on a authoritative platform, and that is going to be siphoning their influence and their authority onto your brand. And it's not, it's something that people dismiss on a regular basis, because you talk to some people and they're like, well, I don't read the newspapers. You might not read the newspapers, or you might not listen to radio, or you might not watch local TV. But even when you don't, once you know that, hey, that is the anchor for the top news network in the country, whether you watch it or not, you still view them as somebody of authority. When you find out that, that person is a writer for this platform and they have their own column, you view them as an authority in that space, or at least somebody to be reckoned with, or at least somebody to know, right? And when you're listening to these people on the radio, once it's sensible content, you tune in. Or again, if you're doing something that would fall into their garden, then you have it in your mind that, hey, you know what? If these people reach out for me to come on their show and be featured, I'm going. Because they're on the radio, they're talking about, a space. They're speaking about things that my business could fall into as content, and they have a platform, and I need to be on their show because their audience that's listening in is probably my audience or people that I want to tap into. So you still have to know who these people are. Right? You're building your business and you want to be featured, or you want to, get exposed, then you have to know who has the authority, who has the platforms, who has the authority. I need to go and talk to those people. Heck, when you work with a PR person, they're going to know what stations, what hosts, what channels. They're going to know all the people that they need to know to get you featured. All right? So, being a content creator on these platforms gives you that authority, gives you that space to build your authority. And then you can pay it forward, and people are going to be coming out to you to be featured on your platform because they view you as the authority. Funny how all that works, eh? Number 3. The third reason you want to blend digital and traditional platforms to build your digital presence is it helps build your discoverability through the search engines. Let's look at the newspapers. So in the case of the newspapers, they are converting all of their articles to their website. So those articles then become digital. And when you set up something like a Google alert, you would be notified every single time your name is mentioned in the press. Right? And then that's going to have a link that you could then reshare onto your platforms to help build your digital presence. But then when people are jumping onto the search engines like Google and Bing, and they're typing in your name, or they're typing in, something in relation to the article that was written with you or about you, they can find you. So, I talk about last week I did an article about how to create videos that are discoverable beyond social media. Somebody could type in, YouTube shorts or video marketing or something, and my article could pop up talking about it. And then they read it and like, oh, wow, this Karen Rose guy, he had some good info. And they find me like that. And here's the thing. The news houses in your country have some of the highest authority rankings by the search engines. And how that helps you is that putting content on their platforms is usually automatic page one rankings and high up there on page one rankings. So there are pieces of content that I've done and other people have done similar content on it. So, you type it in. I'll give you an example. PayPal. A few at this point, years at 2022, quite a few people have wrote about PayPal in Trinidad or PayPal in the Caribbean, right? Quite a few. And my website has always fluctuated anywhere between the first and fourth position on Google surrounding PayPal, right? And I know that the news houses have high ranking authority than pretty much myself and anybody else who's written about the topic. So what did I do? Got strategic. I rewrote my article on the TT Newsday, and that is now page one, position one for the topic of PayPal. So not only did I get the article in print, so it got pushed out in print and exposed people who probably have never even thought about, PayPal being a thing or using it how I talked about it. But most importantly, when people Google PayPal in Trinidad and Tobago, because I rewrote the article on TT Newsday and it's uploaded on their platform, that is page one, position one. So my content has now outranked my own website and everybody else who has spoken about PayPal in Trinidad. It is far outranking them. It's outranking them. And that's how you can be. That is strategy right there. That is strategy right there. I don't even care that it's on. I did it on their platform, so it's going to rank on their platform. But people going and reading it on the Newsday, again, it's Newsday, so they're already viewing it as authority level. I got my Google alert saying, hey, you're featured in the press again. And I can take that link from the article on Newsday and I reshared it onto my social media platform so they could get the information about PayPal, but also see that, hey, your boy is writing on the Newsday. So all of those things combined help build your digital presence, increases your discoverability, because if you did an article on your website and it wasn't ranking page one, you take that same information, give it on the news house, and all of a sudden you're going to get ranked much, much higher for the content. And then when people are reading it, they can visit your platforms because you're going to have your links in the article so they can come and check out your platforms for more information. Right? And even if they don't, they're still seeing your name and your face on the article. So subconsciously, they know you are a person of authority whenever they see your name or they see your face. It's happened. I have been stopped at this point. I've been writing for Newsday since February, and it's so crazy to get stopped and be like, "Hey, you're the digipreneur guy from Newsday." I'm like, "Damn." The digipreneur guy from Newsday. That is wild. But you know what I mean? Like it's happening. It has happened, and it is constantly happening at this point. but they're seeing the name, they're seeing the face, they're seeing the Digipreneur brand in the papers. And then they're also seeing it online. And again, that my website and stuff, I've been on social media, I've been on multiple platforms, but they might not have never seen that before. They might not have consumed digital or seen any of the work I've done over the past how many years on digital, but picked it up in the papers and bam, instantly, hey, you are the Digipreneur Newsday guy. What's your name, Kenron? Rose. That's it. It's Rose. So, getting onto these traditional platforms, right? Now, in the case of radio, right? This is point number 3, building it, traditional platforms helping build your discoverability through search engines. Now, for radio, right? A lot of these news houses are live streaming the radio show. So they're either live streaming it to their websites, right? And again, websites are indexed by the search engine so people could find it and go back and watch it. But then also, you can live stream the sessions out to YouTube. And remember, YouTube is a search engine. So that show can be live streamed out to YouTube. And that'll be discoverable via the search engines. And then you're able to take those clips. So once it's recorded, once it's live streamed, you could take those clips and chop them down and distribute over social media for content and build the awareness of your radio show. All right? So even with radio, there are still ways to get your radio broadcast discovered via the search engine and help with your overall search engine discoverability. All right. TV, if they allow it, and again, TV's a bit different, but you should be able to get clips at least of the show. But you could take those video clips and distribute on social media or share it on YouTube or share it on your website. And again, those will be found via the search engines as well. So there are ways to do that. Google can pick up print because print uploads to their website and they convert their articles to articles on their website. Radio, a lot of the radio stations are live streaming the shows, and once they're live streaming to platforms like a YouTube, again, it's going to be found via the search engines. And then for TV, as long as you're able to get some of the clips from the TV episode that you are on, and some of these shows they're putting out, some of the local television shows for local TV shows are putting out the shows onto social media anyway. So again, those things can be uploaded to YouTube, and then that way you could, embed it on your website and again, increase your overall chances of being discovered through the search engines. All right. Now, finally, point number 4. So we're talking blending digital and traditional channels to build your overall digital presence. So number 4, radio still has a major stronghold in the Caribbean. It is interactive. People still listen, and it is a great space to have guests come in for discussions. Adding the live stream element that we were talking about in your radio shows can be discovered via Google search when uploaded to YouTube. And you could chop those things down and distribute it onto the social media platforms, right? But what I really like about radio is the space that it creates for conversation. So you, as the brand, as the business, you might not have ever been able to get a certain caliber or level of people to come and sit on your podcast, right? You might not have, right? The depending on the people, they might not think it worth their time. I'm not. Some people are probably thinking, who told you that? Who told you that? Who said that, coming on the Karen Rose podcast is a waste of time? Nah, I haven't had that happen to me yet, but this is what happens, right? A certain caliber of people, because of their schedules, are, just too busy. So they pick and choose where to show up and where to make media appearances. All right. And it's and then on top of that, so besides, them not having the time, you also have people who guard their brands dearly and will only take interviews on established platforms. So even if they have the time, people still have to protect their brands and can only show up on platforms of authority. So that's a very big thing, right? And that's actually been something that has been told to me a couple of times. There are people that I really respect, and in conversation, I would have done something, or something might have happened with respects to my brand, and I've had these people tell me, "Hey, your brand has turned a corner, and you have to start tightening up on your access." And I was like, now I know that mainly because of all of the books I've read, but reading about it and then building your brand to the point where it is now happening to you is two different things. So you're going to read or you're going to hear people talking about, they don't do interviews, or they would only sit down with certain people, right? But not everybody's ever in that position to experience when it's happening or what that truly means. So when your brand is growing, you can't and should not be putting yourself on any and every single platform. You shouldn't. In order to continue growing your brand, that also means not everybody is able to experience your brand. There are going to be people that have to miss out. Because if you continue to show up on any and every single platform, you ultimately dilute your influence. You dilute your brand. It's no longer a pleasure to hear from you, right? Especially when, any and everybody can get to you or get an interview with you or sit down with you. All right. Now, I still believe that you got to pick and choose, because there are going to be situations where, somebody reaches out to you and they may not have the big platform. They might just be starting out, but they love what you do, and you decide you want to pay it forward, and you want to, jump on their platform and talk to them. But you really have to be picky and choosy, because there are people that are just getting you because you're a name, and they just want their name. They just want your name. They just want your name on their platform to build their audience and to build their authority and build their influence, right? And they're not that great at what they do, or their intention isn't good, right? And then there are people who are getting started, who genuinely love what you do, and their intentions are good. And you can see and you could feel that, what they're trying to build. You can tell that, hey, this is somebody who is actually serious about, getting this thing started. And you do it. And, I've seen Gary Vee. I've seen Gary Vee, talk to people. And Gary Vee has told people, hey, I'll be your 30th episode, because at least by 30, I'll know that you're serious about being consistent. So he doesn't tell you no, but he understands that he needs to be on platforms that again ultimately continue to uphold his brand standards. But he also believes in giving people a chance to build their platforms, and he's all about that. But he, in order to decide which ones he wants to be on, he vets them and he challenges people. Hey, call me on your 30th episode. Call me on your 100th episode. Call me, and I will be that 100th episode. And that obviously is going to push people to get to 100. Because getting to first of all, I forget the stat offhand, but most podcasts fail by episode 7. By episode 7, according to Buzzsprout, by episode 7, podcasts, and it's something like over 60% of podcasts die by the 7th episode. People just can't be consistent to go past the 7th episode. And then on top of that, when people get to that 7th episode, then you really start to see, are people committed? Because then you're going to start seeing people, do one podcast here, one podcast there. Then it's, then you're looking at like the release dates, and there's like no type of correlation between the release dates. You're getting a podcast on a Monday, then 2-3 weeks later you get a podcast on a random Saturday afternoon. And I understand that life is happening, but this is the things that you're looking for when you're vetting platforms. So when people reach out to me and they're like, yo, I want to interview you, and I'm asking them, okay, well, yo, what's your podcast name? And then I check your podcast, and then you're like, no, I'm not on podcast directly. I just want to record it on Zoom and put it out on social media. And then I go check your social media, and there's no level of professionalism. There's nothing to show me that I can trust you with my brand. And it just looks like you are held to skeleton, that you don't even take your own self seriously. And so when you are reaching out to people when you are reaching out to people, they are looking at these things. So coming back to, radio, when you have a radio show, remember, they have authority, and they are looked at as authority. So people who have big brands that may not look at your podcast or look at, your website as a place of authority, they will look at radio stations and say, okay, they have authority. Now, is this a radio station I want to be on is another question, but you're damn sure they're thinking about it. They're giving more thought to coming to your radio show than they're ever thinking about coming to your website or again, being interviewed for your blog on your website or being interviewed for your podcast. They're giving way more thought. So there are people that you might not have had access to, but you have your own radio show, and those people are now thinking about it or giving some deep thought, or it's a yes. I'll come out to your radio show because it's on radio. It's an established platform. And we know that the viewership is there, right? And they only want to be on established platforms. So it opens up your brand to start connecting with people that you may never have had access to before. So that was another reason for me as to when I'm thinking about blending digital, traditional, how do I build my influence? How do I tap into new audiences? How do I grow the Digipreneur brand to be a region-wide recognized name and beyond the region? Like, I want to be, a household name in the diaspora as well, right? How do I push the Digipreneur brand throughout the Caribbean and to be regional? Well, I need to start mixing the digital channels that I have, so my podcast, my website, my YouTube channel, the workshops that I do, the speaking gigs that I do around the Caribbean and, in the US and in Canada. I need to start mixing these things with traditional platforms, because traditional platforms have the audiences that I haven't been able to penetrate. They have the authority. They aid in building my overall discoverability, and it's going to give me access to people who I may not have had access to. And that is how blending digital and traditional channels can help grow your overall digital presence. Crazy, huh? When I'm sitting down, and I'm thinking about these things. These things are always fun to me. These things are fun to me, and I have been blessed to be able to go from Droid Island tech blogger and content creator to turning into a brick and mortar business and then an e-commerce business. And then I've been blessed that, you know, people actually liked how I built my business to start asking me more questions about how did you do it and can you teach us? And I've been teaching ever since 2019, you know, and I do that full time now, which brings me to an announcement that I'm ready to share with you guys. So starting, let me get the date correct. As of Friday, May 27th, I'm going to have my own radio show on Freedom 106.5. You know, where's the bounty?
Bang, bang, connect.
Yeah. So Freedom 106.5 is a part of the Guardian Media House, which is like our largest media house in Trinidad and Tobago. And again, it's radio, so people can listen in from all over the world. They stream the broadcast to their website. They're setting up cameras in the studio so that we could live stream out to the social media or to YouTube and the other social media platforms and whatnot. And then, you know, I'll be able to do my own thing in terms of my own recordings and whatnot. But yeah, I'm super excited because, you know, again, I have plans and part of the big part of the Digipreneur brand is to create that platform for digital entrepreneurs, whether they are, you know, light years ahead of me or their people are just getting started out, and also the content creators and just anybody within this digital space. I've wanted to create this platform where you can learn, you can listen in and learn or watch and learn, but also create the platform for the business owners, the experts, the creatives. I wanted to create that platform where they could come and have a conversation with somebody who speaks their language, but then also put them in front of the right audience. Because what happens is that when we go, and this is no knock to anybody or anything, right? I'm just saying how it is. When you have a business, and whatever your business is, right now, if you want to get featured somewhere, you got to go to the morning shows, or hopefully the news, the evening news does a feature on you. But that doesn't always mean, while they have the visibility and they have the large scale numbers, that doesn't always mean that it's the right audience, right? And so I wanted to create spaces where the right audience is paying attention, because I'm speaking directly to them. And they know that when they tune in, the information and the conversations they're having pertain to them. But I also wanted to give that aligned space for the entrepreneurs, for the creatives, where you guys can come and we have that conversation about your story, or we learn from you, or we have a live audio masterclass. You're teaching us about something, but you're speaking to people who are an aligned audience, right? And there's always been this misalignment when it comes to, you know, again, a lot of these new things that we're doing right now. You might, you know, I get this a lot from business owners where, you know, they come up with something and they go do an interview on the morning shows. And again, the host themselves, they're not in this space. They're not business owners or an entrepreneur or whatever, you know, so the conversation that they can have is going to be very generic because they don't know the nuances or whatnot, the right things to ask, or you know, or what's important to create an engaging conversation. But then again, the people that are listening in might not even be your audience, right? So sure, you got featured, but you didn't really have the conversation that you wanted to have, and then you don't know if that's the right audience even listening in. So it might not do anything for you, or it might not do what you want it to do. So this is where, you know, again, I've been working hard to cultivate that audience, that when you see me anywhere, you know where I'm going. We're talking online business, we're talking e-commerce, we're talking marketing, we're talking content creating, we're talking, you know, building your business digitally. Those are the things that we're talking about, right? And those are the people that I want to talk to. So I wanted to create that space. So we're still confirming the name for the show. The network pitch Digital World. I'm trying to, throw back at them digital age. And we'll see what we go. So, but before Friday, the name is gonna be confirmed. However, the show is starting on Friday. I'm super excited for the journey. I never knew I wanted to do radio, but I think because of podcasting, I think I got used to, being in an audio format, microphone in front of my face, a little mixing board. I mean, this ain't no, I love my Rodecaster Pro, but it ain't no studio. It ain't the studio mixing boards, right? But I mean, it's great for what I do. So I think I got used to it. And when the opportunity to have a radio show, when it came up, I was like, man, that only makes sense. So now, with the radio show, I'll have the Digipreneur column in print, and then those articles get converted digitally, and then we're going to have the radio show. And I'm going to have fun separating, thinking about, where do I want to have these conversations, because now that's going to force me to reimagine Digipreneur FM. Well, not reimagine it. I have a very good idea as to what I'm going to keep for Digipreneur FM, the podcast, and what I will do on the radio show. And I think the radio show is going to be an extension of what I do on the Digipreneur brand, but I think I'm really going to focus on the interviewing and being that space where people aim to come on my radio program. Like, I want to create that space where, and this is not just for the radio program, anything that I do, whether it is print, whether it's the podcast, whether it's blog, whether it's my YouTube channel, I'm building the Digipreneur brand to be the place where anybody and everybody who is in the digital space and the content creation space and the marketing, e-commerce space, this is the place where I want to get featured. That is my overall goal. So that's not just limited to the radio station, but that's my overall goal with the brand. Hey, I need to talk to him. We have a product we're launching. He has the audience. We need to get in front of that audience. Or, hey, I am a content creator, or, I want to be featured and I need to talk to him, and I want to be on the radio show, or I want to be featured in the print, or I want to do a live stream where we can have that two-way conversation. So again, when you start to understand how all these channels work, when you understand how the live streams work, the live streams have, immediate two-way conversation engagement, right? Radio is call-in. I mean, I could do the call-ins on my podcast too, or on the live streams too. So, I mean, but you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole different ball game with the call-ins on radio, right? And then there's print. Getting featured on print, and that there's a caliber of people picking up the newspapers and reading, and then you'll get your Google alert saying you were featured in the press, and then you could reshare that link on your socials so people can go and check you out. Because not everybody is going to be in the country with you to pick up a newspaper. And again, not everybody might not be able to go and pick up a newspaper, but you'll have that link to reshare on your social media platforms or reshare on your websites that you have and build up your media section. So understanding all the channels, traditional and digital, understanding how they work, understanding how it helps people, that now allows me flexibility and allows me to be creative with, where I want to feature people, what will make the most sense. And even if it's not the radio, again, because you're still talking to me and you're a part of that Digipreneur brand, I want everybody to feel comfortable about talking to me, having these conversations, or aiming to get featured on the Digipreneur, within the Digipreneur network. That's the goal. That's the goal. And it feels good. It feels good. It feels good. It feels good to be able to teach. It feels good to have the conversations. It feels good to shine the light on somebody else and help them build what they're trying to build. Whether they are a business, whether they're launching a product or a service, or whether they are a content creator. You know? So Freedom 106.5 every Fridays from 12 noon to 3 p.m. And my co-host is none other than Samantha Best, formerly known as Samantha John, if you guys don't know her by her marital name. Samantha John was a CNC3 host for many years, and still very big in the business, and you know she has her own radio programs and whatnot. So she's gonna be my co-host for this show, and it's gonna listen. And she's a techie person too. So I'm very interested. I'm very interested to work with her and build a vibe. It's going to be two curious digital entrepreneurs and content creators, interviewing some amazing people from around the country and around the Caribbean region. And that is this Friday. So I'm super excited about that. And when we firm up the name for the show, again, if you're following me on social media, I'll let you guys know. But I'm pushing for digital age. I want to bring that. I want to bring back digital age. Bring that to radio. But so that is it from me for this episode. I hope I gave you guys some things to think about, because you guys could be doing this thing too. You could start thinking about, how do I become a contributor for any of the news houses within the country that you are in, right? And it doesn't have to be weekly. I push for weekly because, I got too much to talk about, but it could be bi-weekly. But again, just understanding the benefits of how you can blend these two channels to grow your overall digital presence and your authority, all right? So if you are not following me on social media, go and follow Keron Rose, KeronRosce. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Follow me wherever you feel comfortable. Yeah. Follow me wherever you feel comfortable. All right. Don't forget to check out the KeronRose.com website. On that website, we talk building your digital presence, monetizing your platforms. I keep you up to date with any of the events and any news that is happening. So go check out the website, subscribe to the email list or the push notification list. You guys can also check out the digipreneur.fm website. We just refreshed the website to give it a 2022 look and a fresher vibe. So you guys can let me know if you guys are feeling it. I'm still working on the hero image for the mobile, but tablet, computer computers and tablets are working perfectly fine. I'm still playing around with the hero image on the mobile, but overall, it's working perfectly fine. I'm just working on the image for the hero image on the mobile side of things. So definitely go check out that website and then subscribe to the email list or the push notification list so that you guys never miss an episode and you stay up to date with all things the Digipreneur. All right? That is it from me. Happy Hump Day. Yeah, it's Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys in the Digipreneur FM family all across the Caribbean and to the rest of the world. Take care!
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Keron Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Keron Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.